All right, this is a Vinyasa flow working towards Scorpion Vrikshikasan, either from down dog or from handstand. Of course, it's all levels, and I will offer modifications. So start in Samastitihi standing pose. And reach your arms up. Inhale big, inhaling, big stretching, big moving, all the things that are big. And then fold, but be gentle here. So it's a bit of a small fold. And so knowing when to take these big movements and these small movements and make it right for your body. Take a half lift with your inhale, and then exhale, fold back in towards your legs. Root down through your heels, and inhale, reach back up. And the movement to get there can be gentle, but then once you get there, let it take as much space as you can, a big stretch. Samastitihi, feel tall and rooted through your heels here. Inhale, reach up again, and fold back down. Exhale, Uttanasana. As always, bending the knees as much as you need to make this more comfortable for your back. And then on your next inhale, step back with your left foot. Come to your fingertips and use blocks if necessary. You can start to lower your left knee toward the floor or to the floor. And then you can flip your left toes back. Take another big inhale here. Open your chest towards the front of the room. And then tuck those left toes under so you can step up into a half lift. And then fold. Exhale. All the way back up. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Push down through your feet. Reach up. Exhale, Samastitihi, standing pose. Pressing down through your heels. Inhale, reach your arms. Forward bend, exhale, Uttanasana. And then again with your inhale, you can lift up halfway, step your right leg back, come to your fingertips on the floor or blocks. You can start to lower your knee down slowly, the right knee, and it can move toward or touch down on the floor. And then if it's touching down, flip your right toes. One more big breath here, stretch your chest towards the front of the room. And to come back up to standing, tuck your right toes under, lift your right knee. That's your exhale. And then inhale forward, half lift, exhale, fold in, full fold. Sweep up, use your back muscles, use your glutes. Inhale, reach up nice and tall. Samastitihi, standing pose. Inhale, reach back up. Forward bend, exhale, Uttanasana. And again, you're going to lift up just enough to step back with that left leg. Inhale, lower your left knee down this time, flip your left toes back, and lift your head up over your hips for a low lunge. Option to reach your arms up to the ceiling if it feels okay in your shoulders and back. Take your hands down to the floor, step up with your left leg, half lift, and fold, exhale, Uttanasana. So the whole point of this movement is to get the back strong, the back muscles really engaged, and the glute muscles engaged. Inhale, reach all the way back up, Urdhva Hastasana, standing pose, Samastitihi. And so those back strengthening, core strengthening, glute strengthening, this is all working towards Scorpion. Exhale, forward bend again. Half lift, inhale, and step your right leg back. Lower your right knee down, flip your right toes back, press into the sole of your left foot, the heel of your left foot, and inhale, reach up. Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor, and then come up off of your right foot, up into a half lift. Step forward with your right leg as you're looking forward, and then once your foot lands, fold over your legs, Uttanasana. Inhale, sweep up. Use those back muscles, glutes, and hamstrings. Reach your arms up. Look up. Big breath, big movement. And release your arms. Samastitihi. Inhale, reach back up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. And again, you can just lift up enough to make space in your joints to move. Left leg's going to come back. Left knee is going to stay straight this time. High lunge, Ashtha Chandrasana. Inhale, lift your head up, and then your arms follow. So you could break these movements down into more than just one breath. Feel free to take as many breaths as it feels nice to get you there, right? And then step forward, half lift, use your core. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Turn those back muscles on, lifting your head up from the back and the glutes. Reach up, Urdhva Hastasana, upward hand pose. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. Inhale, stretch back up. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. And then the right side goes back this time. So you can just lift up enough that it's comfortable to step back, right foot back. Engage your right thigh, bend your left knee over your ankle, and inhale, stack your shoulders over your hips as you reach your arms up to the ceiling, pulling the back of your head over the back of your pelvis. Exhale, hands to the floor, step off of your right foot, and step forward in a half bend, and then exhale, full bend. Unbending as you inhale, reach all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana, upward hand pose. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. And then again, inhale, reach up, nice and tall. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Step your left foot back, turn your left heel down at a slight angle. Chest is staying forward, hips are opening as they need. Reach your arms up, Warrior One, Virabhadrasana A. Exhale, back to the top of your mat with your hands and your left foot, half lift, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, standing pose. Inhale, reach your arms back up. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. And this time the right leg's going to step back. And so your right foot can come back, and then your right heel turns down behind you at an angle. Keep your chest forward, shoulders forward, ribs forward, but let your hips open as they need, and bend your left knee forward as you reach your arms. Big inhale here. Exhale, release your hands down, and then on your inhale, step up, lengthen out. Exhale, then fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, sweep up using your back side of your body. Reaching up nice and tall, looking up even, and release your arms, Samastitihi, standing pose. And hopefully your heart rate's picking up. Hopefully your body's getting warm and you can feel the back and the core muscles working. Let's get another one in. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. This time we'll step back into side angle. Warrior Two. So the left foot steps back, left heel goes down, come up to stand, inhale, and now your shoulders are facing the side of the room as well as your ribs, and your arms are opening out away from each other. Right knee bends straight forward. Exhale, take your hands down, inhale, step forward, exhale, fold in. Inhale, sweep up. Really focusing on those movements, alternating between the back and the front side of your body working. Exhale, Samastitihi. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Right leg steps back. Right heel down. Same setup as Warrior One. You're just going to turn to the side when you lift your head up, and your arms are opening out away from each other. Left knee is straight forward, outer right foot pressing down. Exhale your hands to the mat, and then inhale, step forward with your right foot. Exhale, hug in using your core. Again, feeling the alternation of the muscles working the back and the front. Inhale, reach up nice and tall, Urdhva Hastasana. And as you exhale, Samastitihi, standing pose. Inhale, back up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. And then we'll step back with the left foot, left heel down. And then your right hand comes to the outside of your right foot. Turn your left ribs open, side angle. So as you bend your right knee deeper, bend back and open up into side angle. Look up to your left hand. Exhale, release. Inhale, step up. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up, Urdhva Root down through your heels, feel your toes spread. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Right foot's going to step back this time. Turn your right heel down, bend your left knee. Left hand comes to the outside of your left toe, left foot. Right arm up overhead and turn your right ribs open. Keep pushing into your left arm with your left knee. And arch your back slightly when you take that pose. Take your hands to the floor. Exhale. Inhale, step forward, half lift. Exhale, full fold. Inhale all the way up. Urdhva Hastasana. Reach up nice and tall. Samastitihi. Exhale, standing pose. Let's do one more pose on this flow. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Step back with your left foot. Turn your left heel down and straighten out your right leg and take your right hand to your right shin. Open your ribs and left arm up to the ceiling. Trikonasana. Squeeze both thighs, the quads, both sets of quads, and push down evenly into both feet. Exhale, take your hands to the floor. Inhale, step up, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse the fold all the way up to standing. Big reach. Samastitihi. Exhale, standing pose. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Hastasana. And on your exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Right foot steps back this time, and your right heel is going to turn down. Left leg straightens as you slide your left hand up as high as it needs to go in order to open your right side up to the ceiling. Stretch your right arm up to the ceiling. And let your hips move after your shape and triangle is established. Step forward, inhale. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, sweep up all the way up, big tall stretch, Urdhva Hastasana. Samastitihi. Exhale, standing pose. All right, so this time we'll move back to downward facing dog. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. And then go ahead and step back 1 foot at a time, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take just a few moments here to breathe into the back ribs and feel your low back arch and extend. The energy of your thighs, the activation of your thighs drives your heels down, but you're not pulling your heels down. And then after just a moment or two in downward facing dog, then come into plank pose. Inhale and take your chest through your shoulders so that you're not rounding your upper back and you're in a diagonal shape, not a rounding domed shape. Up and back, exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then we're going to come forward again into plank pose. And you can always take your knees down for this. Take your feet together first, then move into plank. We're going to transition into side plank. So you could take your right knee down to the floor and then take your left foot straight back behind you, or you can keep both legs straight. Push your right hip down to the floor as you lift your outer right ankle up off the floor. And back into plank. Inhale and exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale into plank, open your chest through, lengthen out the back of your spine, and then turn over to the left knee or the outer left foot. Again, driving your left hip down as you're lifting your outer left ankle bone up. Stretching up with your right hand. Inhale, and then exhale back over towards plank and right into downward facing dog. Lengthen out your spine. And your arms are straightening because your triceps are engaged. Okay, inhale into plank. Look forward. Over to the right, side plank, right hand, right foot. Lift your arm up. This time step behind your right leg with your left toes. Keep your left heel lifted and lift your hips a little higher. It's not a full-blown wild thing, but a kind of something in between side plank and wild thing. Come back to side plank, plank, down dog, or you can move right into downward facing dog, just as long as you're not whipping it over, make sure it's a controlled movement. Back into plank pose, feet together, shoulders way over those wrists, and then turn over to the left side, and then you pull your hips back as you take side plank so your shoulders now behind your wrist. Right toes come behind your left leg to the floor, And you're pressing the sole of your left foot towards the floor. Okay, come back in through side plank or right over into downward facing dog. Again, just make sure the transition is smooth and not jerky or flippy. Downward facing dog. Inhale into plank. We'll take the first chaturanga here. So you can take knees down or straight legs and then flip to the tops of your feet. Point your big toes back and chest in the opposite direction. Exhale up and back, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. All right, let's keep adding on from here then. Inhale to plank, feet together. Side plank over to your right foot, right hand, or right knee, right hand. Big inhale, stretch up, drive that right hip down so you don't fall. Lift your left knee up and step it to the top of your mat. Situate your right foot. If you need, take your time. Inhale, high lunge. Right leg is straight, right toes are pushing your right heel up, left knee bends. Take your hands down to the mat, place your palms flat, and step back plank pose. Inhale, and then exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Plank pose, inhale, feet together, left side plank, left hand, left foot, or left knee. Reach up, big stretch. Now pull that right knee up. Remember to drive that left hip down so it doesn't make you fall over. Right foot steps forward. Left leg is back and straight, high lunge. Right knee is bent. Ashtha Chandrasana. Very strong legs here. Exhale, take your hands down to your mat and step back into plank pose. Nice big inhale to lengthen out from toes to chest, and then exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Stretch out your breath, stretch out your back. One big round of breath here before moving on to the next pose. Inhale, plank. Go to your right hand, right knee or foot, side plank, Vasisthasana. Modify if you need. Left knee comes up to the top of your mat, left foot steps. Right heel down, warrior one. Inhale, stretch up, Virabhadrasana A. Push your left knee forward and both sit bones down. Use those back muscles to stretch your chest up. Then exhale, hands down, step back, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Now, if this is too fast of a pace for you, take more breaths per movement and break it up with more breathing, okay? So inhale, plank, exhale, chaturanga, right? So take more time. Plank pose, inhale, left hand, left knee or foot, side plank, exhale. Inhale here, pull that right knee up, step your right foot forward, exhale. Left heel down. Resituate your feet if you need. Take the extra time. Inhale, warrior one, Virabhadrasana A. Exhale, back to your mat with your hands and step back into plank pose, chaturanga. It could be the same exhale or take an extra inhale and then shift down and up into cobra, upward facing dog if you prefer. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Again, take an extra breath here if you need some pause. Right into this plank pose. We'll move into the next posture. Over to the side plank. Right hand, right foot. Lift your left hand, side plank, Vasisthasana. Now lift your left knee. Step your left foot forward. Use your left hand if you need to help pull your left foot up. Warrior two. Right heel down. Open your arms. Open your chest. Sit deeper with both sets of both sit bones. Both sides of your hips sit deep. And then spin back to the front of your mat, hands down, step back plank pose. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So now you're feeling that heart rate, you're feeling the blood pump, you're feeling yourself get a little bit more warm. Inhale, plank, side plank, left hand, left foot, right hand up. Right leg's going to lift. You're going to squeeze that knee and use your right hand if you need help. Step your right foot forward. Turn your left heel down. Come up. Warrior two. Virabhadrasana B. Open your arms and sit deep. Left leg strong. Right leg strong. Hands down to the floor. Step back plank pose. Big inhale. Exhale. Chaturanga. Inhale. Upward facing dog. And exhale. Downward facing dog. Big breath here. Smooth it out. And then from downward facing dog, inhale, plank pose, both feet together. Open your chest. Side plank, right hand, right foot. Lift your left arm up. You can even gaze up there. And then left leg shoots up to the top of your mat. Turn your right heel down behind you. So now you're facing the opposite side of the room, left hand to the outside of your left foot, side angle. Press your right arm overhead. Exhale, hands to the floor. Plank pose. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Point your toes back. Lift your chest through your shoulders. Exhale, up and back. Downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale again, plank pose. To the left hand, left side plank, left foot or knee down. Right arm up, look up, squeeze the right knee in and shoot it up top of your mat. Turn over to your left heel and then spin and face the opposite side of the room, opening up your heart, side angle. A little bit of an arch in the back there. Push back through your left foot, hands down to the floor, and step back plank pose for chaturanga. Again, take extra breaths to pause the movement and slow it down. Inhale into your cobra pose or upward facing dog, and then exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Firm up your thighs, firm up your triceps. So your legs stay strong and your arms stay strong when you, again, shift forward, plank pose. Right side plank, right hand, right foot. Last little posture here. Left arm up. Inhale. Step your left foot up to the top of your mat. Pull your left knee through and shoot it forward. Right heel down behind you. Now you're going to straighten your left leg out and open your right arm up to the ceiling, Trikonasana triangle pose. Keep squeezing those two front hip bones, lengthening your spinal muscles, and then bend your left knee to place your palms. Step back plank pose, chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, big back bend. Exhale, smooth transition. Nice lift in that downward facing dog. So really tall, light, floaty downward facing dog. Inhale into plank pose. Legs are strong, arms are strong. Slide on over to that left side. Left hand, left foot. Right hand up. Pull the right knee in, shoot it forward. Right foot flat. Left heel down. Right leg straightens. Open your torso. Left arm up to the ceiling. Trikonasana triangle pose. Bend your right knee so you can take your hands to the floor and step on back, plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, so either stay here for a few moments or you can come into a tabletop position to situate child's pose if you'd like. Hips to heels if you're taking child's pose, knees apart as wide as you'd like. Rest your arms on the floor, relax your upper body. I'm going to move into Virasana here in the next few moments. So if you know you need a block or a blanket, get that handy. And I'm going to sit down between the heels. So the knees are together, pointing straight forward. A little trick here is to come to your head and push your calf muscles back towards your heels to make space for your thighs to come down around the calves. Point all those toes back and just pause here for a few moments. We're going to move into Camel Ustrasana. So this may be your posture. This may be it for you. If your blocks are handy, if you're not using them under your hips, you might take them behind you on the floor. Otherwise, your hands can come to the floor and then press your hips forward. Lift your chest up to the ceiling. Stay there or add on additionally hands to your heels. So look at this when my hands are on my heels. You can see my elbows hyperextending and it's creating an awful shape there. So this is why hands should be back, pointing back towards your toes, and you're cupping your heels with your hands. It just opens the lines a little bit more. Thigh bones press forward, but your hips and your chest arc up to the ceiling. So there's an arch in your low back. Use your core then to push down into your knees and pull up to kneeling position out of camel. From camel pose, from kneeling position rather, I'm going to step forward with my right foot and then really bend that right knee all the way over the toes. So ideally what I would like to at some point work on in my own posture and my own practice is to get my right sit bone closer to my right heel, which means that right heel might have to lift a little bit off the floor, and that is perfectly fine. Here you can just have hands on the knee or reach your arms up. So this is set up for Ekapada Raja Kapotasana 2, one leg king pigeon pose, second variation. Then the next add-on is bending your left knee and catching your foot with your hand. Now if you can kind of put your palm on your top of your hand and turn the hand forward, spin on the heel of your hand, your elbow points back, and then your right hand can come to the floor or blocks or stretch out in front of you. Or you could reach it up to the ceiling. Eventually, over time, you work yourself into the position where you could reach behind your head and grab your foot with your hands, or at least the left hand. And then only stay here as long as it feels comfortable in your balance and safe in your left hip and right knee. And then release your foot to the floor, hands down. And I'm going to take this into a pyramid stretch. Parsvottanasana stretch. My hands are just going to come down to the floor. You could use blocks here. I mean, really anything goes with your arms. If you want to reach your arms out and flip your palms up or stretch your arms forward. But drive down through your left heel and squeeze your right thigh and lift your right hip bone up off your right thigh. And so I just did that. I don't know if you could see that there was a slight shift of my hips, and it wasn't because I jammed my hips back. It was because I lifted the right hip bone. So the next transition I'm going to take is where it's going to start to get maybe dicey. So make wise decisions and really just do what's good for you. So here's the work towards Vrikshakasana, which is scorpion. First, it's three-leg dog. And simply bending your right knee and three-leg dog. So the right leg comes up behind you, bend your right knee. Then what you're going to do is start to look forward and then take your heel towards your head and head towards your heel. Walk your hands in a little closer. There's your scorpion right there. Don't do anything else if you know you don't want to do anything else. If you want to take a couple little handstand hops, hop your left foot in closer, look forward, and when you hop, right away it's pinwheel legs. So knees bend, and then that right foot's going to come behind me towards my head. The key to this is to roll on the shoulders and melt your chest towards the floor. So you have to take your shoulders really far over your wrists. Then maybe both legs can come up and maybe not. It happens sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't happen. Give it a couple attempts here. Again, if you want to stick with that three-leg dog, or simply hopping into handstand and simply bending both knees like this right here. Then you can play with the back bend. Both legs do not have to come overhead. If you do, then bend your elbows and take your toes down to the floor behind you, chaturanga. And once you finish your chaturanga, you can take an extra breath or two in this really wide leg cobra or upward facing dog. It just feels really good. And it's an additional prep for that Vrikshakasana shape. All right, so I'm going to actually show you a demonstration at the wall in using the wall for Vrikshakasana and handstand. So make sure you're not too close to the wall. You're back far enough so that when you kick up, you can bend your leg and your toes are on the wall. And then the other foot can come to the wall, and then you're pushing into the wall with your toes, taking your hips towards the floor behind you and your chest towards the wall in front of you. And then maybe your feet can come off the wall and your head to the feet. Yeah, and that's just a nice, lovely way to use the wall. All right, so let's come back into a kneeling position. We'll set up for that second side. First, though, I'm going to take a few moments in downward facing dog. And if you're playing with that Vrikshakasana still on the other side, pause the video and catch up when you're ready. And if you're in downward facing dog, recovering from that first side, take a few breaths, either here or child's pose, and only catch up when you're ready, please. All right, down to the knees. And now I'm going to step my left foot forward from a kneeling position. And then I'm going to really bend that left knee over my toes. So the left sit bone is coming down towards the back of my left heel. And I'm on the top of my right thigh more than the front of my right knee. Here you can reach your left arm forward and pause there. Or your arms can stretch up to the ceiling. Big opening here. Next add-on, if you're taking it, remember to stay where you're comfortable. Grab the right foot with your right hand. And if you can catch the inside of your foot and then spin on the top of your foot with your hand. Elbow can point back. And then you're going to work on just gently turning the right ribs towards the front of the room so you don't knock yourself over. And maybe your left arm just is stretching out forward. And then maybe your left hand can reach up to the ceiling and open your chest up to the ceiling, squeezing the back of your calf to the back of your thigh and the thigh of your calf. So really squeezing the hamstrings here of your left leg. Okay, gently release your right foot. Take your hands down and you're going to slowly situate yourself into pyramid pose just to recover from that back bend. I like pyramid as a recovery because it's not an intense back bend. It's more of a back lengthening than it is an intense back bend since the feet are apart and your heels are lined up on the same line. And so stretching the arms out will help give that shearing in the fascia, the separation of that stickiness there. Lengthen your ribs away from your waist. And again, lift that left hip off your left thigh. Driving down your back heel, squeeze your left thigh up. And then we'll set up for the Vrikshakasana play in the next few moments. So situate your downward facing dog, 3-leg dog. Right leg can go back a little bit so that your left leg can lift up. And open your hip here. So option 1 right here. A little opening in downward facing dog, and then your head can lift. Now, if you're going a little step deeper, walk your hands back up under your shoulders more, and then take the heel to head. And then if you're adding in the handstand hops, hop your right foot forward, look past your fingertips, and then a hop or two, and right away bend the left leg that's up in the sky, bend that knee right away and take it towards your head. And then the other knee bends, and use those pinwheel legs for balance. Here you can rotate on your shoulders and start to take your toes towards your head. Right? Sometimes it goes great, sometimes no. Take what you can get, and then take your chaturanga. And again, stretch your legs out in that big wide leg upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, go on back to child's pose and rest. And take a breather here. Relaxing your arms, relaxing your wrists. Draw your hips, your sit bones down towards your heels. All right, and then from child's pose, we're going to roll up into tabletop. And I'm going to turn this over to the side so my mat is protecting my knees. I'm going to take this downward facing frog pose, Mandukasana. Knees come out as far as I'm comfortably on my elbows, and then my feet come out, heels in line with the knees, so the bottoms of the heels and the knees in line. Shins are parallel with each other. And engage your abdominals so you don't sag down in your belly or your ribs. And you can lay down here, you can be on your hands, you can have your feet together. So any variation of this inner thigh opener that works for you. You keep the core engaged though, breathing around the engaged abdominals. So the abdominals allow the diaphragm to pump the breath in and out still. Open your shoulders, press your chest through your shoulder bones. I'm going to show you the side view here so you can see my hips are not forward. They're back more towards my calf muscles, and I prefer that just because it doesn't then dig on the inside of my knee, and this is just the way my body is made. So if your body is made differently and you need your hips to be forward more, that's fine. If you need your heels to be in more, make sure that this pose is feeling good to your body. Ultimately, all you're looking for is a stretch on the inner thighs. And you can feel the elbow stand is giving you a strengthening in the shoulders and in the core, right? All right, and then after just another breath or two here, we're going to start to come out. Hands come back to the floor. Take your hips forward so the weight's off your knees now and your feet come back in together. And then you can pull your weight back into your toes and lift your knees off the floor to then take them together. Come over your ankles into a seated position, and we're going to set up for a half bound lotus seated forward bend. It's Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana. So at first I'm taking my right heel up into my left hip crease. And it's almost like I'm pinching the pinky toe side of my right foot with my left hip crease. So the sole of my foot is on my belly. Now, if half lotus is really difficult for you, or if it's just not safe for you, then take the ankle, the outer shin right above the ankle bone, cross it over the top of your left thigh, right above the kneecap, and then stretch out over your left leg. In this forward bend, whatever variation you're in, make sure that you're pointing your sit bones back behind you, giving your hips an anterior tilt so that your hips are stretching back and your chest is opening. And again, there's a slight arch in your low back. Then from that arch, you lengthen and round your upper back and fold out over your legs. You can put a block under your forehead here if that feels better, and take as long as you'd like in this forward bend. And then when you're ready, inhale, come up, unwrap your arm, and we're going to twist. So now your right hand's going to come to the outside of your left foot, or I actually prefer my right hand on top of my toes to the ball of my foot. But the left hand's come around to the right thigh to bind here. So here I'm moving my right hand to the bottom of my right foot, the ball, and it's going to help provide a resistance. My shoulder blade is drawing back the right shoulder blade, and I'm pushing into my hand with my left foot. That keeps the arch in my low back to keep this twist open and safe. And untwist on your next inhale. All right, unwrap your leg. And then just a brief moment in Dandasana staff pose to let that twist unwind out of your spine. And then I'm going to additionally untwist with Purvottanasana upward plank pose. So I want you to see right my hands where they were the first time were probably right, and I took them back an inch too far, and you can see my shoulders are over my fingers, and I don't want that. So it felt wrong when I was doing it. Now that I'm seeing it, I can tell it's not right. So I want my shoulders back over my wrists more. Just keep that in mind when you take this pose. And then lower down nice and slow. And we'll take the second side forward bend. So as always, if you need longer in these postures, please pause the video and take longer. I just like a breath or two in each one. It's just enough to get my joints warmed up and get me going. Okay, left ankle now crosses either over the top of your right thigh or pull your heel up into your hip crease. And then if you are binding with your left hand coming around, try not to let your left shoulder open up in the twist quite yet. So we're going to twist in a moment. This is a forward bend. Again, engage your abdominals to maintain a little bit of an arch in your low back, and then from the arch up, round out and soften over your right leg in the forward bend. Keep those sit bones pressing back and keep your left knee squeezing in towards your right, not pushing down. So it's not so important to get your knee down as it is to get it closer to your midline. To come out of it, inhale, lift up. Exhale, left hand over to your right foot now. Right hand around behind. You can either hook your fingers on your waist or catch your inner left thigh, or if you've got a belt, you can put a belt around your thigh and then grab the belt with your right hand. Remember again to pull back with the left lats, and that's the muscles right below the shoulder blade and the armpit. And then push into your left hand with your right foot. Creates a cross diagonal stretch and a more structured twist. All right, and then release on your inhale. Come out of that. Straighten out your left leg. And again, I'm going to take a moment in staff pose before I move into Purvottanasana upward plank pose. A great modification for upward plank is upward facing tabletop. So if you'd like to bend your knees and place your heels under your knees instead of straight legs, then set that up. And then inhale, lift, press back, shoulders over wrists. Use your belly to lift your hips up. Use your back muscles to press your belly up. Use your thighs to press your legs to straight, and then lower down nice and slow. All right, the next posture I'm going to move into can be another sticky little pose, so choose wisely. Option one is to move over to hands and knees and take a tripod setup. And so your head and your hands would come down on the floor to make an equal triangle. You can keep your feet on the floor, or you can take your knees to your arms, or you can press your legs up into tripod headstand. So if you don't want to take an inversion here, I would suggest coming to seated and taking a fire log position or working lotus pose or even a bound angle seated forward bend. I'm going to work into Urdhva Kukutasana, upward rooster. So in tripod Shirshasana 2, I'm situating my legs in lotus. That second leg does not go in so well, so I have to cheat. I have to drop it down and use my arm to push the foot up. I don't recommend doing this because then you got to get your legs back up. But hey, however it works, right? As you can see, no one's practice is perfect. We all have our little quirks we have to work around, right? Then if you are coming into the arm balance, you're going to roll to your forehead and then lift your head up before you push your arms straight. Then you press your arms straight and squeeze your butt down, pushing into your arms with your legs, rounding your upper back, looking forward. Urdhva Kukutasana. The good news is if you slide down, you're not that far away. Head comes down to the floor when you're finished. Legs come back up. Unwrap your legs out of lotus. And I'm going to move through chaturanga. So I'm going to lift my head and boom, my feet go back. Nothing else moves. I just rotate on my shoulders. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, child's pose. It's much deserved. Take it and rest. If you're in the seated versions that I offered, like a bound angle or Agni Stambhasan, fire log pose, or lotus, go ahead and switch sides if you're taking fire log pose or lotus, and just enjoy those forward bends for a few more moments. And when you are ready to move on, I'm going to move into bridge pose. And so you'll make your way to your back slowly as you're finishing up the previous posture. Shoulders press the floor away. Feet can turn out slightly. And knees can actually widen a little bit more. So rephrase that. Your feet can widen more so that your knees then widen more. So it's not the knees moving out, it's the feet walking out. Keep pressing the thigh bones up and use your glutes and back muscles to keep the arch in your back very smooth. And feel free to stay here in bridge pose for a few more moments, or if you want to add on to Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward wheel, you can then take your hands under your shoulders and press up. And if you need an extra breath or two between those two postures, come down to your back and resist hugging your knees into your chest. Instead, just lay on your back with your feet on the floor, and then when you're ready, press yourself back up either into bridge, if you've taken a rest, or back up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. If you're in bridge pose and enjoying it, maybe it's restorative, stay there and breathe and enjoy it. Same thing in Urdhva Dhanurasana. Toes can turn out and feet can widen to make this a little easier. To come down, bend your elbows lower down to the back of your head, then your upper back, and then your low back. Rest on your back in constructive rest with your feet on the floor, allowing your back a moment to calm down. It just did a lot of work. And then a big full body stretch. Stretch out through your arms and legs. Squeeze your right knee in and use your left hand to guide it over to the left for a twist. Let your right arm relax out beside you. Breathe right into the right side of your core there and feel the stretch in the space along the right side of your belly. And then hug your knee back over, pull your right ribs to the floor again. Lift up your head, right knee is still squeezing in. Lift your left leg, hovering in a one leg half boat. And then you can keep the right knee squeezed, or you can stretch out the right leg for a full expression of Ardha Navasana, half boat. Looking down towards your toes, and then exhale. Release down to the floor. As you inhale, stretch your arms above head, pull your left knee into your chest. Again, twist off to the right. So exhale into the twist. Use your right hand if you want to guide your left knee over, or just let it fall over. Let your arms relax. So you can see my armpits here are opening up to the ceiling. I'm not pushing anything down to the floor. Instead, I'm opening my chest and arching the back slightly in this twist. And again, just a couple breaths here. Feel the breath moving into the left side of your ribs, left side stretch there. And then pull your left ribs back over, hug in, little half boat with a left knee in, or straighten out your left leg so both legs are straight in Ardha Navasana. Both knees could also be bent in Ardha Navasana. So a lot of really good modifications for that posture. Now hug your knees in. This is what I was talking about right here, squeezing. So you could stay there for your half boat and then lower down if you've already done the time in half boat. And once your head is relaxed on the floor, just stay here for a few moments and decide what's best for you. Happy baby. And so maybe you move into it and you go, nah, it's not doing anything, which is what happened to me. So I prefer a bound angle. So I'm not even touching my feet here. They're just mirroring each other, the soles of my feet. And I'm just really pressing the shoulder blades back into the floor and creating a resistance there between hands and feet, pressing the knees away from each other. One more little posture for me, I'm going to take a reclining forward bend. And if the reclining bound angle is where you want to stay there. So again, you're just moving through some different movements to wind up your practice. If you've got something else you'd rather do, other than this reclining forward fold, then take it. If it's shoulder stand, if it's plow pose, if it's another twist, please do it. Headstand, do what feels good to your body. And then when you are finished, you're going to come back up to a seated position, nice and slow. So I'm going to lower down from my reclining forward bend and roll up to seated. Easy cross leg position here. And so I can feel when I roll forward, I'm kind of leaning into it a little bit. So I'm going to take my head back over my hips just ever so slightly, just a tiny little shift back into the sit bones. And then twisting one more time for me. If you want to twist or forward bend, maybe a side bend. And then I'm going to untwist and go to the other side. It's just a very gentle little seated twist. Using your hands wherever they help with the twist the most for you. And then I'm going to land in seated for the rest of my practice, just to sit and check in with my body. If you prefer to lie back in Shavasana, please do. Please lie down and take rest. And take as long as you have to give to yourself here right now to feel the effects of your practice, to feel your heart, to feel your life force, to feel your breath, to feel your energy, and the powerful strength that you possess. When you do finish your practice, make sure that you take a moment just to bow to you and tell yourself thank you, and tell yourself, wonderful job.